to The Business Caselette, where we look at little bits of business to try to leave our sessions a little more understanding about the business that surrounds us. Today we're going to talk all about brand architecture. Brand architecture is everywhere, behind every brand you know and love, whether it's marketed to you or not. Today, we're going to become a bit more aware of that structure, so hopefully it's a bit easier to recognize in our daily assumptions, whether in studying business or simply just making purchasing decisions. Before we begin, if you would be so kind as to leave a like and subscribe below, I would really appreciate it as it truly supports the YouTube algorithm. Okay, let's get started. In brand management, brand architecture refers to the structure in which a company organizes its brands, products, or services. There are four main architecture types, which we can organize in order from most to least engagement by the master brand. This linear organization is called the brand relationship spectrum. That's right, like my marketing professor always says, the key in distinguishing the architectural difference is in the role of the master brand. Bold it, underline it, circle it, hold that one near and dear. The key is the role of the master brand. Now there are four architectures that are on this brand relationship spectrum: branded house, sub-brand, endorsed brand, and finally house of brands. They go in that order, from strongest to weakest. Say it with me, role of the master brand. See how that's becoming a focal point? Cool. Now if we take one step closer, we can analyze each of these four structures. On one end of the spectrum, you have a branded house. With a branded house, the role of the master brand is the absolute strongest. In this case, the classic example to think of is FedEx. They have FedEx Services, FedEx Express, FedEx Ground, and FedEx Freight. You can also think of Alo Yoga. They have Alo Yoga, their retail products, Alo Moves, their fitness class platform, and Alo Gives, their charitable arm. I'll leave a link above to a video all about Alo Yoga if you're interested in learning more. Second along the line, one step away from a branded house, you have sub-brands. Sub-brands still have a strong connection to the master brand. However, their products can exist a little more independently. The role of the sub-brand is to extend the brand into a meaningful new category while maintaining association and creating brand equity and reputational support for both. Of course, this can be volatile for the brand if the sub-brand doesn't exactly take off, but it also provides enough distance from the core brand that the core brand's equity won't be entirely impacted. In this case, the classic example is Microsoft, with Office, Windows, Xbox, and Bing. Or we can think of Urban Outfitters Pursuits extending into BDG jeans or Eds Franz loungewear. I'll leave a link above to more about Eds Franz and their sub-branding pursuits. The third architecture we have is endorsed brands. With endorsed brands, we're getting a little further away from the role of the master brand and are instead relying on the brand's equity to endorse the brand's reputation. Of course, the classic example here is Marriott, with their slew of hotel brands, which are all endorsed by the Marriott Quality Promise. This allows them to offer distinct experiences while leveraging their brand equity to attract customers for every budget and occasion. Fourth, we have a house of brands. With a house of brands, the role of the master brand is somewhat obsolete. In this case, brands aren't necessarily related to their master brand. And unless you take a deeper look into the company's foundation, you won't outwardly know who the parent company is. You can think of a house of brands as the top of the food chain. For example of a house of brands, you can think Inditex, Unilever, PepsiCo. Unless you're really thinking about who's the top dog behind your snack food, PepsiCo won't necessarily come to mind. Instead, you'll think more readily of Cheetos or Quaker Oatmeal, or Zara, for example, in relation to Inditex. If you want to take a deeper dive into Inditex's Zara, I'll leave a link here. And if you want to take a deeper dive into Cheetos, I'll leave it here. Now, of course, as brands develop and expand, some gray areas develop. For example, Disney has traditionally functioned as a branded house, with Disney World, Disney Resort, and Disney Cruise Line. However, with their acquisition of Marvel, ESPN, and ABC Family, they didn't exactly rebrand those into Disney's Marvel, or Disney's ESPN, or Disney's ABC Family. In this case, we arrive at a hybrid structure. Okay, now that we understand the four architecture types on the brand relationship spectrum, let's ask ourselves, why do we care? Well, as production becomes more and more automated and competition becomes more and more crowded, proper brand management will be one of the main resources companies have to distinguish themselves and either create or maintain successful ventures. If you would like to know more about how brands accomplish building this brand equity, leave me a comment below. I hope you enjoyed this little deep dive into brand architecture. Please leave a like and subscribe below, and I'll see you in the next one.